did I come to know of Satya Sai Baba? It's a question that I often ask myself because I try to jog my memory and see if I can find a point in time where I had this aha moment. But it never quite happened that way. You see, I was born into a home that already practiced Swami's teachings. Hearing of his miracles was almost an everyday occurrence. It was just part of life. And so Baba has always been God for me. Swami says that he has prepared us for this lifetime over many past incarnations. And I can only say it is because of his grace and his love that he has allowed me to know of him in this lifetime. Absolutely. Now, but let me say that my experiences are not ones where Swami came to save me from a life-threatening situation or critical illness. No, let me rephrase that. He has, but I just am not aware of it because I know he's been protecting me every nanosecond of my life. So there's no question of that. Swami has just been very gentle with me, and so my experiences have just been simple experiences, but the lessons that I've learned from it and from them have been very, very profound. And actually those lessons are what guides me in my life and makes me the person that I am today. So the first experience I would like to share with you all happened in 2000. My sister and I were SSE teachers at the Tooting Sai Centre in the UK. SSE stands for Satya Sai Education. And a bunch of us, a group of teachers from that centre, along with the children and some of the parents, we went to visit Swami in 2000. And Swami was at Whitefield in that time, for that particular leading up to Christmas. He was at Whitefield. And so every day we would go for darshan, obviously, and every day I would have my appendage with me, and my appendage was my camera, because I love to take photos. I'm not really that good at it, but I just enjoy it. It's a hobby that I enjoy. So every day I would go check in my camera, because you're not allowed to take it into the Ramakrishna hall, so you have to check it in, take a chit and do that little exchange. And on one particular day, the head Sevadal said to the leader of our group that Swami said to take one photo in the hall. It's fine, permission was granted, and we were all ecstatic at that time. So I quickly got my camera and came back in. Everybody was sitting very nicely with their hands folded like this, ready to take this picture. And so I did. I stood in front of the ladies and I took the picture. Now I know viewers are probably saying, oh, well, Swami appeared in the photo. No, it didn't quite happen that way. I would have been overjoyed if he did. But this is what happened. Someone said, Asha, Ben, take another photo quickly. And this is the point of this experience that I'm trying to share. Sometimes we do things regardless of how small, because we think nobody is looking. I knew the head Sevadal wasn't looking. The people at the locker room wasn't looking. But there's always someone looking on at us, looking at our every action. I took the camera to take the second photo. Swami's instructions was to take a photo in the hall, a photo, one. I took the camera, I pressed the shutter knob, and I realized nothing happened. So I did it again and I realized nothing happened, and I did it a third time and they realized nothing happened. So I pulled the battery out, put a new battery in, took the memory card out, put a new memory card in. I was just trying anything in my frustration to get this camera to work, because it worked beautifully before. Eventually it didn't work and we got up We got back to the glass colony where we were staying, which is not too far from the ashram, it's walking distance. And one of the girls said to me, try the camera again. And so I took it out of my bag and I tried the camera again, and of course it worked. And of course it worked beautifully for the rest of that trip. And even so, probably like for a few years after, that camera worked wonderfully. So Swami sees, he knows, he is a silent witness in our lives. And it can be the smallest thing. I always think twice before even having the thought of being dishonest. I always think twice, because everybody else may not see what's going on, but Swami knows. Swami always knows, from the biggest to the littlest of things that happen in our lives, and we must always, always remember that. Another experience that I would like to share with the same lesson, and probably not as gentle this time, happened in 2007. I was then the youth coordinator, National Youth Coordinator, Trinidad and Tobago, and we took a group of youth to Prashanti for the 3rd World Youth Conference. The conference lasted 3 days in total, and on the last day, it was 3 long days, and on the last day, we got word that Swami wants all the youth back into the hall for a particular time. What happened was that some of the youth had booked on tours to go touring India, and they would have spent a lot of money to do that. Even though Swami's request was that we come back into the hall, they chose to go touring. Other youth decided that it was a long day, and they decided to stay in their rooms and relax, while others chose to go for a bite. Now, at the start of this conference, Swami gifted all of the youth, girls, 3 saris, and we were told to wear one of the saris when we're coming back into the hall. So those of us that went into the hall, we had to sit according to countries. And we were just sitting there. The rumor was that Swami was going to come out and give us a special darshan, probably talk to a couple youth, find out what's going on, like if he doesn't already know. So we were just sitting there waiting. And then we heard a whole bunch of rukshan. When we looked across, we saw the youth leaders coming out with orange material in their hands. And we were like, what's happening? What is that? Like, what? Because our minds are telling us it's Swami's gowns, but our minds are also telling us, why would he do that? Why would he give that to us, you know? So Trinidad and Tobago being the first country, they came and they gave us these gowns, and the only question that was going through my mind is, Swami, what have I done in my 27 years on this earth to ever get a gift, garb of God? I still question myself actually about that, because I don't think it really has sunk in as to what that gown is or what that robe is. The waterwork started and the nose work started, and so there was one of the youth called Revati Siu. She and her sister Kashmir Siu were with my sister and myself, so we were sitting first 4 in that particular room, and she started handing out napkins because nobody wants their DNA to fall on Swami's gowns, right? So we tidied up ourselves, and then after, the icing on the cake. And my point is, sometimes we miss out on the best things in life when we do not follow God's directive. I'm sure those who went touring had a fantastic time. I'm sure those who stayed in the room and rested had wonderful dreams. But this experience, nothing in life can top this experience for me. The icing on the cake was not only did Swami gift us his gowns, but he came out in his little automated chair rolling around and looking at us as if he was the most proud parent and his children had done something so fantastic. When the youth leader was giving us the gowns, one of our youth said to me, ask for the girls that were sick. So I asked the youth leader, and she was somebody that I knew from the Tutoring Science Center. We taught SSC together, and she seemed to have kind of ignored me when I made the request, and I just didn't focus much on that anymore, but tried to absorb what was happening at the time. After a while, she comes back with the gowns and she hands me 5 and she says, here. And I'm like, Swami, what did I do to deserve to hold 6 of your gowns now in my hands? At that same time, Swami was rolling past in his chair. And I thought to myself, oh my God, Swami, please don't take it back. So when everybody had gotten their gowns, Swami came by and everything, and we left the hall, there was a bunch of ladies standing on the outside. And they started, to me, they were grabbing. I don't know if they were just trying to touch Swami's robes or if they were going to grab it out of my hands. But my sister at the back of me, she said, pull your sari over and run. So I held the gowns to my chest, I pulled my sari over, and I ran and I ran. And you know what? If I was in the Olympics, I think I would have gotten gold. But the funny thing is, when I turn around, all of the girls at the back of me were doing the same thing. It was truly an experience that one does not forget in this lifetime. It's also an experience that one wonders, why, Swami, why give us, you know? There's so many other people doing so many other good things. But had we not listened, you know, there's a saying that just came to my mind, and I often hear the older people saying it. When you don't listen, you will feel. And that is exactly what happened. When we got to England, the members of the Tutoring Science Center had a little gathering for us because we had not seen our friends for a long time. And there was Sister Ludmilla, the youth who gave me the gowns, the 5 extras, and she said to me, do you know that Trinidad was the only country that got extra? After that, they said no more, and I remember her doing this. After that, they said no more. I don't know who is the day that said it. I don't know who made the decision, but I do know something. If Swami did not want those girls to get the gift of his gowns, rolling past in that little chair, he would have simply said, take those back, please. Because he knows everything. But he looked on and he smiled, and he was the most gracious parent you would ever think of. So the very gentle experiences that I've had in my life is what has shaped the person that I have become. Remember always that Sai is looking at us. He is the silent witness in our lives. Always follow his words implicitly. Do not leave room for error. You see, sometimes when we don't listen to Swami, we do not listen to the words of God, to what his instructions are for us, then we must be willing, we must be ready to accept our consequences, because more than likely it's not going to be nice. And the last experience I would actually like to share today happened in 2008 for the World Education Conference. Again, Swami called me to his fold then, and we went with a team of maybe 20 something plus people from the Montreal Science Center. Auntie Kalauti Mahavir Singh, one of my favorite aunties in the whole entire world, she joined in the group, and she stayed with my sister and myself, and she became like a grandmother to us, very, very close. So when we were on our trip from Kushanti to Whitefield, there were like 4 vehicles in our entourage, and our vehicle was the first one. So I was sitting at the front, and my sister and Auntie Kalauti were at the back. And once she is around, you really cannot have a dull moment, because she's always talking of Swami or of Lord Krishna, something to engage you and to lift your spirit. But the driver of our van, he said he wasn't seeing the other vehicles behind us. So he jumped out of the van and he started to walk back, because when we looked back, we also didn't see the vehicles behind us. So he left us there, he jumped out and he went his way looking for the vehicles to see what was wrong. And so at one point in the van, we became very, very quiet. I think we were all thinking, or we were all feeling, every time you leave Swami's physical presence, my heart breaks a little bit. A lot. And so we were all quiet in the van at this particular point. But I turned around to tell them something in the back. And as I turned around and I looked through the window, up in the sky, I saw a clear image of Swami's face. It wasn't a stern face, it was a smiling face. And I said to Auntie and I said to my sister Anu, I said, look in the sky. A clear picture of Swami's face was present. Now if we tell, well, I am telling you this and you may probably not believe it, but the lesson that Swami was trying to teach me at that particular time is, do not grieve for him in Prashanti Nilayam. He does not only exist in Prashanti Nilayam. In fact, the greatest sin that we can commit is to believe God exists only in one place or in one country. Swami was showing me, look, here I am in the sky. He is in every animate as well as inanimate object. He's in every face, in every person that we see. And most importantly, he stays in our hearts. So even though my heart was breaking, it always does every time I leave physically, Swami was teaching me on that particular day, take me with you. I am with you. I am always with you. And I always will be with you. I don't think the English language has the correct words or the adequate words. Saying that Swami is everything feels like it's lacking. Swami is my life, my constant guide, my parent, my best friend. Swami is more than everything to me. I try to make my life a perfect example of Swami's teachings. I don't think his teachings and his message has transformed my life in any way, because it has just always been Sai. I try to be honest. I mean, the experiences that I shared with you, I take those lessons with me every single way, every single day. And I can only say that Swami his teachings has made me the person that I am. Well, as I would have said before, I think I gave experiences on every single trip that I've been to in Prashanti. So in 2000, I went as part of a leading team because I was an SSC teacher. In 2007, I went as a leader because I was the National Youth Coordinator of Trinidad and Tobago. In 2008, again, I was part of a leading team. We took the Montrose Sai Center to the Education Conference. I do not mean to be harsh in my words, but being a leader is one of the hardest things you would ever have to do in this life. It's one of the most rewarding things because you know Swami sees something in you to put you there. But the work never ends when you're a leader. And yourself, what is yourself? You put yourself way down past everybody else. On every single trip I had been to, I would sit in darshan, and while everybody is absorbing Sai, my mind will be, Swami, how can we solve this conflict between A and B? Swami, how can we bring peace in such and such a situation? Swami, why are they thinking that this is the case instead of this when it's clear to see? You know, my thoughts were never really, or my feelings were never really always in the darshan. Because as a leader, you tend to have to think about everything else. And I was so fed up of having to deal with everybody's egos and so many personalities every single trip. It felt like, I mean, I actually said this. I actually said, Swami, don't ever bring me back to see you with anybody. I do not want to be a part of a group. Okay, I do not want to have to spend 3/4 of my time dealing with conflicts, trying to bring peace into people's lives, when inside, I was a wreck. As a matter of fact, and I don't mean, like, I get really worked up because this is what I said, okay? And many of our youth don't even know. I think 2007 was the hardest trip that I made to Prashanti. And a lot of our youth don't even know. On our flight back to Trinidad, I became so ill. And so every single trip I had been on, I had been in a leadership role. And while it was very lovely being there, seeing Swami, having experiences, I felt like I never really connected. Getting back to the story, one day I was just at my computer, and I got an email from Brother Daniel. I can't remember his surname, but he was the youth coordinator of America at that time. And the email says that they would like me to represent Zone 1, which was America, Canada, West Indies, and Israel. I don't know how they ended up in our group, but they did. And if I can represent at a youth meeting that was going to be held at the Prashanti Council. You know, sometimes we must be so careful of what we ask for, because I said to Swami, don't ever call me back to you with anybody. I just want to be, it's me and me alone. And well, guess what happened? I had to travel from Trinidad to India alone. That's what you wanted. Trinidad to India alone. And then when I got to Prashanti, I had to work out all of the logistics of accommodation and everything alone. And then until eventually I met the team of the youth coordinators from the other countries. Every single day we would have, leading up to this one particular meeting, every single day we would have meetings. You know, every single evening after darshan we will meet to talk about what's happening in the countries that you represent, how many youth are there, what projects they're doing. Swami knew everything, you know. Swami knew everything. And one thing that they spoke about is the walk for values. Now, unfortunately, one of the countries that I represented in Zone 1 did a lot of walk for values, and their reports were very heavy on the walk for values. Walk for values are good. Why not walk with values? Keep the values in your life everywhere you go, every single day, and express those values. So while walking for values is good, walk with values. And another thing that was said is that what we achieved in 30 years, we now need to achieve in 10. Probably meaning that, you know, a lot of us, we feel content just knowing who Swami is. You know, we know he's God. Okay, good. We go about our lives. We don't really make significant changes. It meant that we needed to accelerate in our own lives Swami's teachings, we have to open our eyes. We have to wake up from this slumber that we have been in. And I think that is why they said what we achieved in 30 years, we must now achieve in 10. And the third thing that stands out to me on that trip was we were asked, the youth were asked when we had our meeting, Swami wants to know what we want. And automatically, we thought it meant what we wanted to eat because we are youth and food is important. And so, you know, we would always be joking about it and saying all sorts of silly things. And it's only when I got back to Trinidad and I was digesting that experience, that situation. Swami wants to know what we want. And none of us found it in our hearts to say, here goes the waterworks again. Swami, all we want is you. His teachings are not only about the be good, see good, do good, and remain in human consciousness. And that is a very important point that we must remember. Swami has come to move us from human divine to divine divine. Everything else that's happening in the world will happen. Swami says be in the world but not of the world. We have to put blinders on like a horse in a race and just focus on the goal at hand. We are not just these mere bodies. We look around and we still see each other as different, being distinct and apart. Really and truly, we're not. We are divine beings. Swami has told us you are divine beings. And just like he is a divine being that had a human experience, we are divine beings having a human experience. Brothers and sisters, let your experience be the best that it can be.